to your Daily 5 for Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. I want to start off right at the top here to say this is not the internet shouldn't be fun type of 5. I absolutely think that the internet should be a zanier and weirder and wackier place. So I don't want anybody to hear this and misinterpret what I'm saying, because this is not me saying that everything on the internet should, be serious and straightforward. I'm all for, listen, I love the fact that Zombo.com is still running. So I am all for the weirder parts of the internet. That is some of my favorite stuff. But there is one aspect of internet culture, I guess, I don't know what you would even call it anymore, because it's been around now long enough that there are things that we refer to as internet culture, which is really weird for somebody my age to think about when I remember when there was no internet and now there is basically internet culture. But one of the early elements of it, not at the very beginning, but kind of when it was still a bit of a wild west and people were doing all kinds of different things and there weren't really the big companies and everything established necessarily as solidly as it is today. But if you didn't notice, yesterday was April Fool's Day, April 1st. And for a while on the internet, when it was April Fool's Day, there was no way you wouldn't know that it was April 1st because you couldn't escape every website trying to have its fun, clever angle on an April Fool's gag. Some websites would revert their design back to the 1990s. Others would post fake articles. Probably the only one, or one of the few, that was consistently great was when ThinkGeek still existed as an independent site. It's now, of course, been absorbed by GameStop and has been dead now for years. I don't even think... I actually looked it up today because I was curious if they still had any type of independent arm. No. It has been completely subsumed. It is gone, long dead. I mean, I knew it was, but I was just kind of curious if they tried to revive it as some brands have done. But ThinkGeek was probably the only one where I actually really looked forward to April 1st because so many of ThinkGeek's joke products, well, not me so much, but a good portion of them could end up being real products. If they were popular enough, there was enough of a demand, and if it made sense, they would actually make the joke products into real ones. That's why they stood out. And don't get me wrong, like I said, there are other sites I remember doing funny gags, but there were a lot of them where the stuff they were posting just wasn't funny, it wasn't clever, and ultimately it made those websites next to unusable for most of the day. Now, some of them I know did have some version of almost okay, here's the curfew period. Like up to this point in the day, it'll be joke articles, and after whatever, it's going to be serious. But there was no way to know what that was going to be. It's not like it was generally so well pointed out that you would understand where the line was when they were going to start joking around. And so, like I said, it made, certainly with news and blog articles, where you would normally go for, what's going on or that type of thing, or topical items, it made those sites almost unusable. And again, a lot of them just weren't funny. That's the thing. Humor is not easy. Believe me, I know it's not easy. And so when you would go to these sites and it wasn't funny, it really just made it even worse. I mean, bad humor can be funny. Humor that you just sit there and kind of tilt your head out is the worst of all. And many of these sites were kind of in that middle ground where you knew that there were clever people trying, but they just weren't really able to do it. And so I don't think it was the pandemic. I remember it being before that where I started to notice that there was a period where there was so much of it that I think people really started to get aggravated at it. And I think at some point there was a realization that it wasn't really paying off in kind of people thinking it was funny. People were getting more annoyed. And I'm sure in this age of by the second analytics, anything that drives website traffic down for any reason, even for a few minutes, is going to be thrown right out the window. So in some ways, even though I think SEO optimization and all this over-reliance on analytics is in many ways very detrimental to the web as we know it, that is one aspect where I'm kind of glad they're paying attention, because I'm pretty sure most people might have giggled once or twice at this early on and then just got really annoyed. So it's one facet of the internet as it used to be that I'm glad to see gone. Because don't get me wrong, again, I like the crazy, wacky stuff on the internet. I really do. But generally the April Fool's stuff, it never really seemed like enough people had the hang of it and did it well for it to be something that so many websites just felt like they had to do. Don't get me wrong, it still does happen. I saw one article, only one actually, all day today, that I saw that actually talked about April Fool's jokes, which was really a pleasant surprise, where it used to be that you'd have to try to avoid them. You would actually not know if some of the stuff you were reading was real. So that's one thing I'm glad to see gone, and I'm not going to miss it. Later.